All right, what is up, everyone? Hope you are doing well and having an awesome day. Really excited for this free workshop that we wanted to do. This is called the Calm YouTube Flywheel. I know that many of us are thinking about YouTube, already publishing on YouTube, or thinking about it. And we called this How Thoughtful Therapists Get Found in an AI World. I'm joined by my wonderful executive assistant and STC's head of operations, Melanie Weigel. Melanie is the whiz behind STC, runs a lot of our back end systems. And so, practically, as we were even thinking about this workshop, we thought it'd be really good for both of us to be there because Melanie handles a lot of the publishing stuff, thinking through, even our flywheels. And so, Melanie, grateful that you're here.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here and share all the back end knowledge and all the things we do behind the scenes because there's a lot going on. But yeah, it's good to be able to share.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll dive in. So we again, let me just make sure. Okay. And then if you guys could just verify, Melanie, everything looks good. I think so. So,
Yep,
okay.
looks
So
good.
first of all, this goes without saying, a lot of times when we sign up for workshops like this, it ends up being a little bit of content and then a huge kind of pitch fest for a product or a program or anything like that. We believe in doing something a little bit differently in that we feel like if you're going to sign up for a free workshop and to join us, it should focus on quality teaching. And so that's what we're going to focus on the majority of the time. This is also not a hype webinar. It is a quiet strategy session for those of us that want to do YouTube in a sustainable way. So this isn't a webinar of, get 1 million subscribers on YouTube and do that in the next 3 to 4 months, any of that kind of stuff at all. What we are really focusing on is how do we as clinicians get found online, but how do our businesses get found online? But how do we do this in a thoughtful way on YouTube without feeling like we are constantly performing? So, uh, as I was creating these slides, I was like, let me just find the most obnoxious and weird photos from the STC archives. So this is a video of me. I believe this is around 2021. And this was a video screen capture of one of the videos that we did, which is I did a behind the scenes of selling the couch studios. So where I record the podcast, record videos, and all of that stuff. I wanted to do the screen capture because as I realized as I was about to record this video, there was like a bookshelf there that had a whole bunch of messy stuff. And I was like, I cannot have this on video. So I literally threw a blanket on board. And that is how we recorded that video. We currently run two channels. So we have the main Selling the Couch channel. That's been the channel that's been around much longer. We've had over 60, 70 videos there. And that channel particularly focuses on it's a long form content and it's primarily long form podcast kind of content. So essentially, we record an audio podcast, and we've been doing that since 2015. But then we started back on YouTube in about 2021. And so we essentially take the video, we edit it. It's not a just we do some editing and some cleaning up and stuff like that. And then we publish it also to YouTube. Our newest channel is what's called the Quiet Builder. And so as you can tell, it's very small. It's less than 20 videos, and we have 37 subscribers. And the reason I share this is because this channel primarily focuses on beyond therapists. This is sort of the next evolution of my work and how I'm thinking about stuff. And I'll tell you a little bit more about Quiet Builder down the line here in this workshop. But the main thing to know right now is this is more short form videos. So these videos tend to be about 5 to 7 minutes long, whereas the Selling the Couch channel tends to have videos anywhere from 16 minutes upwards of 40 minutes long videos. So all that put together, over these past couple of years, we have created 106 videos. So we have learned a lot about YouTube, what works, what doesn't work, how do we streamline this, and how do we do this in an efficient manner. My big thing is I am building slow compounding channels. That's true for YouTube, that's true for podcasting, that's true for how we post on LinkedIn, that's true for the guides that we create for both selling the couch and Quiet Builder. Now, what I mean by that is I am not chasing virality. What I'm really doing is trying to be purposeful about the content that we create, and I call it slow compounding. So it takes a little while for the momentum to pick up, but once we have true momentum, it we get a flywheel spinning, and that's primarily what we're going to spend a lot of time talking about. On the Quiet Builder side, the second channel, that Quiet Builder is what I call a legacy brand. So this, I know at some point with selling the couch, the work that I do there will be done, and somebody else will hopefully take that work over. But Quiet Builder is something that I hope to pass on to our daughter, for her to take over. And so Quiet Builder will include a variety of different things from experiences, retreats, all the way to books, and even down the line, potentially physical products as well that are sold. And this is a picture of our daughter, from when she was a little baby. And, a lot of what I've tried to do, especially these past years with selling the couch, is really design things around my family, around my health, versus constantly chasing stuff. And I say that because I know that many of us are starting to orient in that way of thinking about the purpose of work and why we work, and how does the work we do support the lives and the lives that we want to live and the relationships that we want to invest in. So Quiet Builder, as I mentioned, has three components. It has what we're building out this year and over the next couple of years. It's called the Quiet Approach. And so this is a 1 to 2 day golf centered immersive experience for people who work in high pressure environments where they need their calm to hold. So we use golf as a lab by which stress and pressure builds. And then we do a bunch of stuff from heart rate variability to brain spotting and things like that, in order for them to help them learn to regulate their nervous system. Quiet Builder also includes the middle part, which is what we call the Quiet Builder letters. So this is $97 a year. It's 2 letters that are sent out to subscribers, and currently we have 52 subscribers, I believe. And the whole intent of that is just sort of a grounded letter twice a month, that supports somebody who is a quiet builder. And the third thing that I'm working on in behind the scenes as I write these letters is the Quiet Builder book. This is something that I hope to publish around 2030. And so I'm really thinking about YouTube on a big level of how does YouTube support these products and services that we want to build out. I think that's a really wise way to look at it, particularly because I think most people, there's this real pressure on social media and YouTube just to publish a whole bunch of content, where I think the better perspective is to do this in a thoughtful and purposeful way. And just a real quick, before we continue, as you guys are joining us, we want to do 2 things. We want to serve you well. So please drop questions in the comments. Melanie is going to man the chat. She'll pop in questions and ask as those, and we want to answer those to the best of our ability. And if it's something we don't know, we'll definitely share that as well. Also, we want to make this really interactive. So, let us know where you're joining us from, what questions you have, and all of those kind of things. Now, here's the thing. What I have noticed, and I fell into this trap as well, most people use YouTube like social media. So what I mean by that is they're chasing either subscriber counts or how long people have watched, or they're chasing things like, let me see if I can publish a video a week for a year. The truth is, I only publish videos on YouTube for on the selling the couch side for about 6 months of the year. And with Quiet Builder, we were following that same cadence. But what we're actually transitioning Quiet Builder to is essentially 2 videos a month spread out over the whole course of the year. Now, this, as I was again getting ready for this, I found this great quote from Cal Newport. Cal Newport is a computer science professor at Georgetown University. And I know that many of us, especially as clinicians, as parents, all of those things are thinking through what is the relationship we should have with social media, but but as business owners, how do we use social media in a way that feels sustainable? Now, I found this great quote, which is incessant clicking and scrolling generates a background hum of anxiety. And I love that phrase, background hum of anxiety. It's one of the reasons why I haven't really gone to like short form content. And even I was on Instagram a number of years ago and I actually closed my account down because I started really thinking, if I'm building a body of work, what I really want to focus on is channels that support that work. So practically what this means is this is a screenshot from the Selling the Couch podcast, the audio version, and it's on Apple. And what you may notice is, I don't know if the screen's getting a little bit cut off, but on the left side that you can't see, there's numbers there. It says 412, 413, 414. Those are episode numbers. And so what I'm essentially thinking about is building this huge library of work that over time is something that just compounds over time. Also, for Selling the Couch, at some point, as I shared, someone else will hopefully take over the work of Selling the Couch. So, what I'm also trying to think about is from a business perspective of how do we create an asset that also maximizes the potential revenue that could be generated from the sale of Selling the Couch. Now, here's the biggest shift that I would encourage you with, and I would love to even hear in the chat and the comments. And Melanie, maybe after I do this one, I'll just share because I can hear some comments coming in. But YouTube is a library and not a stage. This is such a shift in how we think about it, right? Because YouTube, when we think about it, we're like, oh my gosh, I gotta turn on a mic, I gotta put on a camera, I gotta present, I gotta do all these things. But at the core of it, it's a library. It's a library of playlists on certain topics that you have niche expertise in and trusting that those things compound over time. Melanie, I'll turn it over to you. Comments coming in, any feedback, any of that kind of stuff?
So first of all, I'm pretty sure that my video decided to pause. So I'm sorry that I look crazy. I'm gonna try to reload in just a second, but I promise that I'm here. Katie said, how can I leverage my Instagram reel for YouTube videos? And what is the minimum length a YouTube video from a therapist?
Oh yeah, like the minimum length of yeah. So this is a question we'll jump into. Katie, it's great to see you. One thing we've noticed, and Melanie, like, because I feel like you're in the weeds with this, we've noticed that, especially in the last, I would say 8 months to 10 months, especially as AI and these LLMs have gotten more popular, it's no the strategy of posting one short to Instagram and then take that same short and post it to YouTube, it doesn't seem the most wise strategy anymore because again, I'm like reading between the lines. My sense is the AI, these tools are able to read content across a bunch of different places online about us and about our businesses. So my concern is it's seeing it as duplicate content versus unique content for Instagram and YouTube. Uh, and then I think, Melanie, do you have any thoughts on that at all? Like in terms of,
I do have a thought on the minimum length that I just want to mention.
yeah,
The biggest thing that I feel like right now, and we might want to think about this with the audience from a therapist point of view, but I know for almost all of my clients across the board, shorter has been better, and people attention span just obviously isn't what it was.
yeah,
So I would say if you can even get one quick win through, like get a
Hmm.
quick win, one thing, one point. It's better than trying to get, tons of things into one short video.
Hmm.
Like I think our YouTubes are like 20 minutes long. I feel like that's a good amount of length as opposed to an hour of for a podcast where people are kind of more checked out. So yeah, I would say just get your main thing that you want people to know, and that also breaks up your content. So now instead of if you have 5 points, you have 5 pieces of content instead
Yeah.
of just one.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful point. So this, I think, is something we're talking a lot about internally, which is I think I was like so anti shorts because I was like, I don't know, like I want to be known as a shorts creator or whatever, right? But I think what I am realizing is these platforms, whether it's Instagram, um, whether it is, whether it is any of these other channels like YouTube, they emphasize shorts. Like there's a value in producing shorts. So the way that we're thinking about it is, and again, this is just within YouTube, the shorts, like maybe what we do is for every selling the couch episode, we generate 1 to 2 shorts. We're using Riverside right now for that. Same thing on the Quiet Builder side. It has an AI system that generates shorts from the most like interesting moments. And maybe what we do is we just also upload 1 or 2 of those for every video that we create, just to kind of feed the discovery engine a little bit. But I also think the other point of I'm a big fan that I think long form content builds soul, depth, and expertise. So what I'm really trying to do is shorts go to the long form content is generally the perspective that I've been trying to take. So okay, but really great questions. Please keep them coming. So all right, so this is the other interesting thing. I think that conversation around shorts, right? Like it's and fast content fades, right? So when you're creating these shorts, yes, they can be discovered over time, but there's also this pressure of like, okay, we got to keep generating shorts in order to feed that discovery engine, right? Now, again, we're taking sort of this hybrid approach. Yes, I think shorts are important, but maybe what the thing is, they're good for discovery, but we also have long form content on YouTube to really build that trust and reputation. Melanie, what have you seen across clients as well? I mean, is that sort of a good perspective or?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that YouTube is the place where you can share more and people are still going to check it out. Like if you put a reel on Instagram, people aren't going to watch it past a couple of seconds. So if you're looking to build authority, I think that's the best place to be putting that content. People are really looking for more information and more education on YouTube as opposed to other social media channels where they're just used to scrolling.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, the other thing is, and we alluded to this at the beginning of the workshop, is AI powered content is like, I mean, I've heard terms like AI slop, all of that stuff is just permeating all of these social media channels. And so I think it's really posing a bigger question of like, how do we as therapist creators show up online and how do we want to show up online because I realize this even from for example take selling the couch, right? Like let's take an average solo episode might be 20 minutes long, and if you use some sort of an AI shorts generator, it can probably pull 7 to 8 shorts from there easily. And so then the question I've been thinking about is like, just because these AI tools can create it, like, do we need to necessarily put it out there? That's an interesting, like a bigger question. Even for those of you guys that are tuning in live and later, I would love to hear like how you're thinking about it in the comment section because I feel like it's an interesting kind of tension between two things, you know? What we have noticed, right? And I think many of us are seeing this, especially in this AI world. People want depth more than anything else. They want that connection, that depth of connection. And so as we think about YouTube, what we're always trying to think about is how do we build trust, reputation, and connection with the content that we're creating. Just a broader kind of thing, right? And what we've noticed is loud creators will chase algorithms, and YouTube has an algorithm, and we're not really trying to play that game where this is doing popular at this time, or let's let's publish a whole bunch of long form videos all at once and try to see what we can do. I'm always, because I know for me, like the creative process just takes a little bit of time. And some of the best ideas that I have for podcast episodes or Quiet Builder episodes often come on hikes, or when I'm talking to a friend, or when I'm like trying to work on my non-existent golf game. So, you know, and it's just, yeah, so it's just, I think a lot about that stuff. The thing that I would encourage you to embrace is quiet builders plant evergreen ideas and let YouTube compound them. That is what I would really encourage you to embrace. In that, one thing that, and we'll do some exercises here even during our workshop, but the thing to really think about is if YouTube is a engine, right, a search engine, right, and it's owned by Google, what it's really looking for is clear answers to real questions that people are asking. This is the crux of what we call the calm YouTube flywheel. We're actually going to show you the exact step to do so you can actually create some of this stuff for you, for yourself. So the first thing I always start out with is the idea capture. So idea capture basically means, I've got a random idea when I'm on a hike or when I'm driving or, obviously be safe, but like, how do I capture that in a thoughtful way that uh, that allows me to at least jot down that idea so that I'm not sitting in front of a computer trying to think about like, what was that idea? This sounds like a really basic concept, but if you can find a system or a method to capture some of your most creative ideas that are going to serve as content for YouTube, that would be such an amazing thing to do. I have a couple of different ways that I do this. One of the ways that I do this is through a Slack channel. And so this is literally, I call it Mel's secret space. So nobody else has access to this channel. And literally what we do is I have I have different channels. So this one is called YouTube ideas. And so as I get ideas, I will just type them out on here. But the cool thing with Slack is you can also send voice memos. If you're at like let's say you go out to dinner and you see this like really cool sign or something, you can go into Slack, it'll take a picture and you can put it in there, and then you can talk and say, hey, I saw this sign and this is what inspired me and this is why I think this could be a cool inspiration for a video that I'm creating, and that content is there. That way when you sit down in front of the computer to start to script and think through this, you already have a repository of content that you can actually pull from. Melanie, have you seen anything else in terms of like idea capture that some of your other clients are doing at all?
Honestly, I love this system. Like I just have a notes, like obviously on your phone you have a notes app. I just have a notes app with tons of ideas, but I love putting ideas in Slack. I actually started doing this too since you told me about it because I think it's so genius because I have everything else in there anyway. Um, but yeah, I mean just whatever works for you, whatever you have that you're going to be able to access quickly and that you can be able to find stuff. So you might want to do like notes for different sections like podcast ideas or whatever else you have going on so you don't have like a million things in one place. But yeah, no, I think this is a great system.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So two things. One is when you are done with an idea, you can actually just right click on it and you can set up there's like a little emoji that comes up and you can just put a green check mark. That way you've already created the content or you've captured that idea in some sort of way. Melanie, you brought up a really good point. So you can totally have channels. You can have a broad channel, which is what I have. But let's say that you are a clinician and you've got like 3 specific niches that you are working in and you want to build expertise in, maybe you're like, hey, I want to get clients, but I also want to think about, because I've got a book that I'd love to write on that topic. What I would do is probably set up 3 channels for each of those. That way you're capturing, you go to an OCD conference, right? And that way, let's say you see something or have a conversation, or after a presentation, you have a moment of insight, you go in there and you capture it in that way. So I don't know. It's just like, it reminds me of this James Clear quote, which is, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And so if you don't have a great system to capture this, and Melanie alluded to this, because I used to do the same thing. I used to have this notes app, and I'm like, oh gosh, where did I put it? And what did I put it? And it's not the most organized way. So the second thing is, and the reason why we emphasize some sort of an idea capture is, we'll share the kind of the bigger reasons why Google loves that kind of stuff. But the biggest thing to realize is, experience is greater than volume of content in an AI world, right? So less is more, or less but better, is what we're really leaning into in this AI space. Because this is the other little piece of this. I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I've really pulled back here in the last couple of months, but uh, one thing I was noticing, and I think a similar perspective on, depending on if you're on YouTube or any of those. I noticed that the folks, when they were publishing too much content, I noticed my nervous system just felt kind of off. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't even watch the other video they posted. And then, especially when it's like written content, I was like, oh my gosh, this is being generated by AI, because there's no way somebody can have this like prolific of ideas that. So it made me think about like my own perception of their credibility. And so I wonder if there might be other folks, when we're mass producing content like that, what our ideal folks might be thinking about the content. Melanie, what do you think about that? Like, because I feel like there is like this interesting shift happening.
That's such a good point, and I do actually see this, because I know a lot of people who have created their own, like, ChatGPTs for their social media, and so they have this whole process, and it's putting out, like, thousands of pieces of content for them, and I do feel like at some point you lose, like, kind of the humanity in it, feeling like this is your content that you actually are creating and your thoughts. So I think there is a fine line between using content to support you and actually using it to do your work. I think those are two different things. So we just have to find that balance of really, what do we want to put out in the world? Is it quality? And is this really like something that is sustainable for me and that people are going to be able to watch too? Because you're right. I think if there's a channel and is putting out 20 pieces of content a day, I can't keep up with this. Like, it's just
Right.
trying to catch the algorithm instead of connect. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Well said. Um, yeah, it's an interesting, I think it's great that we're all asking these kind of questions like this. So now, here's kind of the practical side of this, right? So this is literally pulled from a chat that I created in ChatGPT, and I was like, "Who is Melvin Verghese?" Right? And what I want you to notice is where ChatGPT, and this is um, found very similar things with Claude. You notice where it's pulling stuff from. So some of it's the website, some of it's like platforms like Facebook. And so what these LLMs are doing is, right now, from everything I've read, this is kind of version one, right, of these LLMs. What's actually happening is they're playing a bigger game, right? So, which is, this graph alludes to this. This is made from, this was a study that I came across, which is the projected search query volume and market share of an LLM versus traditional search like Google. So practically what that means is, how much are people relying on Google to do their searches, and how much are people relying on LLMs like Claude and ChatGPT and these. So what's really interesting is, we're in 2026 right now, and it's about 75% traditional search like Google, and then 25% LLM search. But look at the growth of this is going to happen. So by 2030, this particular study projects a 50-50 split between LLM search and traditional search. So it's like we want to be present and focus on the moment, but we also want to think about where all of this is really going, because it's going to accelerate very quickly. And those of us, which all of us that are on this workshop and watching this, are thinking about this in a strategic way. And I think that's the best way. Also, I don't know if y'all saw this, but ChatGPT actually came out with their own browser called Atlas. And so this is the other thing, right? They're essentially building Google competitors, but you're essentially keeping it inside of the ChatGPT interface. So they're pulling definitely from website content and YouTube and a bunch of stuff, but you're essentially, they're trying to keep you right within ChatGPT, even down to this example, right? Like even within this browser, you can now getting to a point where they will look at flights for you, and then you just book the flight right within the LLM versus going to a separate website. I shared this in one of our slides, but I wanted to come back to it because I found this really interesting. So SEMrush is a SEO company, like a keyword research company. They're one of the big ones out there. Ahrefs is the other big one. But so these are very reputable companies. And what they did is they did a study of 150,000 citations. So basically, where are these LLMs like Claude and ChatGPT, where are they pulling from? For our workshop, this is the most important thing to know. Their YouTube was 3. It was right there with Google in terms of where the data is being pulled from. So that's why it matters if you are planning on building on YouTube and you are or are already building there, why it matters to keep building on there. Okay, so I had a friend who has built a very large YouTube channel, like over 1 million subscriber channel, and this person also actually YouTube brings in this person and has them train their team. So when I was talking to this person, one of the things they said is, Mel, 95% of business owners think that they need to create a whole bunch of content on YouTube, but they're not really being strategic with it. The better strategy is what is called the 20 questions. And so, practically, what this means is take a sheet of paper and take a moment to write down 20 questions that your ideal person who's going to be watching your YouTube channel would be asking. Then create videos that literally answer that question. So one question at a time. So pull these from, again, as clinicians, you likely have client uh, information now, stuff that's coming up in therapy sessions. Now, obviously, we all know this. Do not share like very specific content, but generally look at themes that are coming across multiple sessions with multiple clients, and start to think about what questions are they asking related to that, right? The other thing is really lean into real life. So, what are questions that other people are asking you that, and again, use something like Slack to capture those ideas. Now, what we actually wanted to do is, and Melanie, I'll turn it over to you to see if there's any questions coming through. But what we want you to do is just take like 1 or 2 minutes, because we wanted to kind of make this interactive. So think about that. Write down 3 questions offhand that people are asking, that your ideal YouTube subscribers might be asking. As you guys write that down, Melanie, is there any questions that have come up in chat that I can answer?
Yeah, we actually have some great questions and comments. Do you want to let them brainstorm for a minute and then we can
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
come back to that?
Well,
Okay, perfect.
yeah, we'll let you guys brainstorm for like a minute and then write them down, and then we'll come back. Okay. As you guys continue to write those questions down, Melanie, what questions came up
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
comments as
So
well? So,
I just want to read this comment first before we get into questions because it makes so much sense.
mm,
Fletcher said on idea capture, AI is very good at keeping the idea inbox and the system organized and cataloged. Recall has become so much simpler for me for this. And I just want to mention this comment because obviously this is the perfect thing to use AI for is creating systems and keeping all your ideas together and referencing back to them. So that's an awesome idea. I love that. And then Karen asked, so we have a couple of questions. Karen says, I struggle. How much of me do I put out there? I love
mm.
YouTube for being real. I do struggle with my psychologist self and my coaching self in self disclosure. How do you deal with this ethics?
Yeah, this is a great question. So, you know, the thing I try to think about is I have a couple of frameworks. So, I don't ever talk about something online that my grandma would watch this and be like mortified by. And the underlying thing is like, I don't want to cause like shame or something like that, you know? Uh, so that's like one general framework. The other thing I try to think about is there are parts of my life that I share, but it's like very purposeful. I don't share all parts of my life. And that's not I'm trying to be like hidden or something. It's just, I think in this online space, I think we all need to be thoughtful about what we share online because we don't know who's watching this, all of those kind of things. The ethics, particularly as a psychologist, as a therapist, I think I totally get it. Obviously the most important ones don't come out of a client session and be like, oh, and it's like a very specific scenario and be like, oh, that would be a great idea for a YouTube video. Let me just start like live streaming or create a short on that because that's, obviously that's one end, right? But what I would really think about is, again, I think this will make sense with idea capture. And Fletcher alluded to something which is like so beautiful. Hi, Fletcher, by the way. You can use the combo of Slack and these LLMs, right? So let's say you've got a Slack channel and it's like an idea capture channel, right? Like, and maybe it's related to your specific niche, and you're writing down these ideas or you're recording them. You can then take that content and put it into Claude or a ChatGPT and say, hey, what are trends or like patterns that you're seeing in this that I might be able to create a YouTube video on? And so that's a great, I think, great way to sort of synthesize that together. But generally, what I found is focus on broad patterns as opposed to specific client situations. And then if it's something that you feel like, in terms of personal sharing, again, what I found is over time, I've gotten more comfortable with what I'm willing to share. But I think I've also, it took me a while to get there. And with every one of these things, like for example, we did a podcast episode and a YouTube video on my struggle with depression and entrepreneurship. And I don't think I would have created that video in the first several months of STC. I think I would have just had so much like, oh my goodness. But the reason I created it wasn't just for my own like release. It was actually to share a larger thing about how in entrepreneurship we never talk about like the sacrifices or the compromises or the challenges that we navigate as entrepreneurs because we tend to live in a world where highlights are emphasized. So I shared the story in light of the content that I wanted to speak to, versus just leading with the story. Melanie, how do you think about this? How do you?
Yeah, I actually, I think something that's really important to think about is it relevant? Like, you don't have to
Hmm.
share everything about your life, but if it's relevant to the point that you want to get across, then obviously you can tie it into your own life. Like I think obviously with building the podcast and the brand for Quiet Builder, like you talking about, golf and just like, you living a more intentional life whenever you're taking time off during the summer and things like that. Like these are things that are relevant to our audience as opposed to just being like, yeah, and here's I'm on, live talking about what I did this weekend, So
Yep.
I think there's a difference of like what is actually going to help in the story and help people to connect with you versus just oversharing. So that's something you can kind of think about too, to just think about,
Yep.
how much do I really put out there? They don't need to know every single thing about your life to feel like they're connecting to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I think you're alluding to something which I think is really good, which is around like safety too. So again, I tend to
Yeah.
be very cautious with that stuff. Just because I've had some past stuff where I'm like, oh, I did not expect that, you know? So these are like really a few practical things. So YouTube has a live stream feature, right? YouTube has, so you guys are watching that live stream here, right? And we're using that feature. YouTube also has a community tab, so you can post pictures and stuff like that. Generally, my thing is I don't post something like pictures and stuff if I'm still in that location. I tend to like post it a few days after. And I generally, and again, I tend to be a little bit more cautious, but like if we're going on a trip somewhere, I usually will not post it when we're still there at that location. So
Yeah,
cool.
definitely.
Um, any other questions? I know I had a couple. So
Yeah, so, and I can answer this one.
yeah,
Katie asked if I record a 20-minute video and I make mistakes, is there a program to edit it without starting over? Yes, Katie, do not feel like you have to start your video over. Please don't do that. There are programs, and we can like send some of these resources in a wrap up email after this as well. But I personally use a program called WeVideo to edit videos. It's honestly super easy. I'm positive that you could probably do it. There's also like CapCut and different ad like apps that you can use to like clip stuff out of videos. You can also just hire like a virtual assistant just to do like some light editing for you for not that much. But definitely do not feel like you have to re-record every time you make a mistake because I totally understand the stress of that. Just take a breath, take a pause, and keep recording, and you can definitely edit it after.
yeah, that's awesome. So once we've already, uh, maybe I'll shift over and then we'll ask some questions a little bit later. Yeah. So we've got idea captures number one, and the second step is idea filter. So just because you have a great idea inside of your Slack channel or wherever you're capturing it doesn't mean it needs to be turned into a YouTube video. In fact, I wouldn't do that. In fact, what I would do is only publish ideas that pass two tests. So search demand and plus trust signal. And we'll go into more of this, what EEAT means, especially in an AI world. So you guys feel free to take a screenshot of this if it's helpful for you. But what we really try to think about is content on a X and Y axis. So on one axis, the X axis, you have search, right? So are more people searching for it? And then on the Y axis, you have trust. So is there increasing trust, right? That is built through that content. So if something is like low search and low trust, which is the bottom left, those are random thoughts usually. I wouldn't necessarily publish them. Or I would think about how to loop those into perhaps related other videos. There's also high trust videos where people are not actually searching for that particular content. Those videos I actually think have a place on YouTube. And those are like personal stories. They're great for connection, but they're not the flywheel core. Then there's this, which is like high search and low trust. So, you figured out like there's a lot of people searching for this. Personally, for me, I don't really. I think there's a chance of it becoming almost like keywords, like what keyword stuffing was back in the day, where with SEO, people would, try to figure out the actual keyword. And then, clinicians would be like, as an anxiety therapist that lives in Dallas, Texas, and specializes, like it becomes so, doesn't feel human. And I think as the intent with Google is trying to become more essentially like human-like in terms of its ability to find search. And so what we really want to lean into is this high trust content and high search content. So basically people are searching for this, and you're building the reputation to be able to speak to this. The third thing we would say is record with a repeatable structure in place. And so that's one of the biggest things that's been helpful for us, is to have a certain format that we use, and then the content within it, of course, swaps out. This kind of helps you avoid from getting on that hamster content creation treadmill, and then also trying to figure out like what do I publish on, what should be the format of this particular video. And I also just wanted to place a video of a cute hamster in the middle of the slide. So just remember, sustainable structure beats motivation. And this picture is actually our daughter was born a few months premature, and a lot of what I've tried to create on the content side is there's content that we create, but I've really tried to design my life in order to be a present husband, present dad, all of those things. And I've tried to really focus on my health, because I think for me, especially with YouTube, the on the selling the couch side and on the quiet builder side, the entire how we publish and when we publish is completely designed around our daughter's school schedule. So I don't create necessarily content like June, July, August, but I've backfilled and back created the content. So for even Melanie, and feel free to jump in with this, like one of the shifts we're making with Quiet Builder is I'm not recording, even though we're publishing 2 videos a month in, June, July, August, I'm not recording those in June, July, August. So, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, definitely. Like you can batch as much content as you want, right? Like obviously I would prefer you to batch like a million videos so that I can edit them easier and have more time. But yeah, just sit down, and if you want to like change your shirt 3 videos in and keep going, do it. But I think it's better to not have that moment where you're panicking and having to do it last minute. So just like block off on your calendar, put in your calendar, I'm going to create videos for 3 hours, and then you can just use those for the next however many months.
Yeah. So even so one thing even down with Quiet Builder, especially what I looked at was I was like, I have an hour to record, and I want to be able to record from Tuesdays 11 to 12. Now, if that's the case, how many, and in an ideal scenario, I want to be able to sit down for 1 hour and record like 2 months of content. So I just did the math back, right? And I was like, okay, every video needs to be about 5 to 6 minutes long, like assuming there's a little bit of a gap with, transitioning a video, taking a drink of water, that kind of stuff. And so that's literally what I do. Like, so I would even think on a practical level, I know like for many of us, the fear of YouTube is like, once I get on this content treadmill, I'm not going to be able to get off. What I would say on the opposite end is you're going to feel a lot less resentful if you design the length of the videos and the cadence of publishing in a way that fits the season of life you're in, whether it's kiddos or caregiving or just you've got other priorities. Otherwise, what often happens is like there's this real pressure to like publish more, or experts will say like do that stuff will you can do that for a season, but it's really really hard to sustain for the long term. So um Melanie, before we jump in, I know there might have been a couple more questions, and anything else, any comments that are coming in, again, please keep the comments coming, because I feel like we're all learning this stuff together, so it's not Melanie and I know everything. So
Yeah, definitely. Please let us know what questions you have. No new questions since our last round, so we'll check back in here in a few minutes.
okay, yeah, perfect. So so here's why you may have joined our workshop today. One is just to avoid the content treadmill. I know everyone is terrified of that, and none of us want to do that. I know that many of us are thinking about slow compounding, right? So maybe it's not just one video that, how do you like accumulate videos that that grow over time and that compound over time. I know many of us are thinking about legacy as we are either in like mid-career or late career, and we're thinking about like what is the impact that I want to have and what's the legacy that I want to leave behind. And so, with that, we wanted to just share a quick invite to Haven. So, Haven is a community that we started back here in 2026 in January. We've been slowly building this out. This is specifically a community for therapists building and growing through YouTube courses, podcasting, speaking, and writing. So, if those are things that are on your horizon, Haven is something definitely to check out. Uh, the cool thing with Haven is we have right now, we had 15 colleagues who joined in January, and 13 of them will be continuing with us. So we have a nice little group of colleagues that are going to be uh, joining us. But the cool thing with Haven is we do every 3 months, we do an accelerator. And the accelerator that's coming up in April, it starts on April 7th. So we have a couple of weeks. We call it the Calm YouTube Accelerator. And so this is going to essentially, over the course of 4 weeks, we meet once a week for about an hour and 45 minutes, and you're going to build your YouTube flywheel together. So you get support from our team, you get feedback from colleagues that are fellow quiet builders that are trying to thoughtfully do this in a like non-hustle kind of vibe. And within the accelerator, again, we have 4 weeks. So in the first week, we're going to focus on setting up your channel in a calm and sustainable way. So we're going to look at like what are the most essential pieces on a channel that really matter. How do you, and you're going to get some time to write those out. You're going to get time to get feedback on your channel and all of those things. Week two, we're going to go dive really deep into this 20 questions that we had alluded to your ideal client is asking. So you're going to get time to actually draft out all 20 of those. You'll again get feedback on those questions from our team through breakouts, feedback from colleagues like, hey Mel, that's a great question, but you may want to tweak it and based on this because that's what I'm hearing. Week three is all about trust in an AI world. So EEAT is Google's kind of update about how they are trying to figure out what content is searched for or what content is gets pulled up in Google. It is I always forget these experience. I forgot the second E, authority and trust. And but it's ultimately like for us as clinicians, EAT is actually going to be great for us because it expertise, experience, authority, and trust. There it goes. Because it all caters to all the work that we're doing and all the trust that we have. Week four is actually going to be a YouTube script template. So we've created a system that basically takes Google's what Google is searching for, and we created a template that is perfect that overlays on that particular way of looking at it. And I like Google's EAT system because it's not about like trend chasing or virality. It's really about like, hey, create content that demonstrates your expertise and why you can speak to this in a sustainable way. So, obvious question is why join us? One, you're with other therapists who get it. For most of us as clinicians, if you're telling another therapist like, hey, I'm building a YouTube channel, you're gonna get like you have like 9 eyes or something. So instead, these are colleagues that are actually doing this awesome work in the world. The second thing is just accountability from our team, from other colleagues. You're gonna actually get your channel built out over the first 4 weeks. And then obviously feedback. We tend to, by and large, attract therapists that are just kind, but also real and willing to give like helpful feedback. They also tend to be seasoned business owners. So they're not necessarily folks that are newer. Most of the folks that are joining Haven tend to be 5+ years in business. So they built a successful business. And so they're coming in with that wisdom. And obviously you get wisdom from our team. And so that's Melanie and I. And we do office hours. So when we're not doing the accelerator, so we'll go through this in April, Melanie is wonderful and does our office hours. And Melanie, maybe I can just loop you in real quick and what we actually do during those work hours, and how that kind of plays out. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the work hours are actually really important because especially in courses, you can get a lot of information and you're taking in all of this like education that you're learning, but you're not actually implementing it. So office hours is our time where we are really working and implementing. So we are going to be actually getting the stuff done. And we're coming up with a system where we're going to be setting our big to-dos for the month and working through those and then actually making sure that the things that you need to do to actually reach your goals and make your business happen are being checked off that list. So it's a really exciting time where you just have that time set aside to actually work on your business.
yeah, absolutely. And Melanie does an amazing job of like, has created a nice little rubric. So basically, even outside of the accelerator, we meet on every Tuesday. You have a place where you can actually work and build out this YouTube channel and your YouTube content. On the second Tuesday of the month, we do what we call warm and fuzzy seats. So this is an opportunity for 3 of our Haven members to come forward and say, "Hey, this is something I'm struggling with my YouTube channel," and our team, we give you feedback. Colleagues give you feedback on if they were in your shoes, what they would do to move forward. Sometimes we also bring in guest experts. So likely what we're going to do here in the next, month or two is actually bring in somebody who's built a successful YouTube channel, and just the opportunity to kind of pick their brain about what's working, what's not working, that kind of stuff. You also have a Voxer channel, and so Voxer is basically this. It's an async communication tool. So think of it like, if you're like dating myself here, but back in the day, like Nextel walkie talkies, and so you can literally leave voice memos to other members that are in our community. So you have a channel for our YouTube accelerator. You also have a channel where everybody's in there. And then what we've actually been doing is we've been setting you up with 3, 4 buddies within the bigger Haven community that are your buddies for 3 months. So you get lots of friendships and lots of accountability along the way. Basically, in 4 weeks, you get to build your calm YouTube flywheel. And so if this is something that you're like, man, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and even if you already have an existing channel, you're like, oh my gosh, AI is really changing stuff. This would be an excellent one for you, because somebody had asked this on an email of like, is this accelerator about like creating content? It is about creating content, but the bigger thing is, how do you sustainably create on YouTube in a world that's now so AI driven? And how do you do that in a sustainable way? So, I had a couple of folks that were so kind in order to leave us some kind words. So, Dr. Karen Sofer, hi Karen, I think you might be here, but I'm a new participant, but longtime follower of Melvin and his podcast. When the email about Haven reached my inbox, it came at the perfect moment. I want to expand my reach as a psychologist who works with and teaches about shame, and to do things with earnestness and humility. The best word that comes to mind to describe why I took the leap to sign up is integrity. I felt the quality infused in Mel's approach. Pair that with the community he's nurtured, I'm confident this will be a true growth opportunity for me. Karen, even if I'm not sure if you're around, but even if you could share kind of your experience, what it's been like here in the first couple of months in the chat, that would be awesome. Michelle Richardson is a licensed clinical social worker, group practice owner. I joined Haven because Mel has a gift of building learning communities with grounded energy and values. I participated in his previous mastermind, where I gained clarity on my vision and goals and have taken slow and steady steps toward achieving those. Haven is not a mad dash to the end, but an opportunity to continue to be supported all along the way. That's a big thing we'll speak a lot about. Like, this is a very calm community. It is not a like, shame, like we're going to shame you if things aren't done. And then the last one is Mega. Mega said, when I first met Mel, I knew we'd become friends. Appreciate the way his calm confidence allows others to shine in a room. I also knew I had so much to learn. That's why I'm so eager to connect with other professionals who are seeking more from their entrepreneurial relationships. Haven seems like a great place to learn, build, and hone and share. So, all three of these folks will continue to be with us in Haven. And so, Haven, you can join for the quarter. And so, if you're like, hey, I just want to do this YouTube accelerator, totally join for the quarter. It's $497. That gives you access to these 4 weeks in April, and then 2 months where you can join office hours and hot seats, have access to a buddy group, have access to a Voxer channel and everything. You can also join yearly. I put a QR code in here that takes you to the sales page. Melanie will put a link as well. We, as I said, we Haven is brand new. We started with 15 colleagues here in January, and for this YouTube accelerator, we're opening it up to 20 spots. This isn't a hey, sign up because we're creating artificial demand. Honestly, we're a small team. We want to serve you guys well. We've both been in membership experiences where it felt like you were a number and we didn't want you to feel that way. And so we just know, given where we are infrastructure wise, like 20 is what we can take. So would love to, have you consider joining us if it does make sense in this season. If you do join on the yearly plan, every month I share a video called Behind Quiet Builder. So this is basically a behind the scenes video of how I'm building out Quiet Builder, some of the things that I am learning along the way. The first video that's going out this month is actually about my decision to trademark Quiet Builder and going through the trademark process and what that's been like. I also had this crazy situation where I was almost conned by somebody trying to impersonate the US Patent and Trademark Office, and some of the just wild stuff that I learned along the way. So, um, and then the thing that is, we have a couple of little gifts for you guys. One is if you do join Haven and you watch this webinar, whether it's live or it's on a replay, we have two special gifts for you guys, and it's for folks who join Haven. You have our checklist of our publishing checklist, and Melanie, maybe I can loop you in on this, but this is basically the exact steps and processes that we've learned over after 100 plus videos of like literally do this first, do this second, that kind of stuff. So Melanie, I'll loop you here on that.
I'm not going to give away the process because I want them to read it and be surprised by it. But I will say that it's a really good system and it has made my life so much easier. So you definitely want this.
Yeah, I mean, it'll save you so much time and you won't have to doubt, like, oh my gosh, am I building the right thing? Or am I forgetting something? Also, we have a separate bonus video for you guys. This is basically how I research video ideas. And so this is basically like over my shoulder of like, okay, this is how I'm thinking about it. This is why I'm going to create this video and not this one, or this is why I'm going to take this idea and loop it into this one. If you're curious about even my thought process around how we create content, so as we shared, had over 100 videos, but with the STZ podcast, that's 11 years old now. So over 400 pieces of content, podcast episodes. So definitely have had a lot of method to the madness here over the past couple of years. And and the final encouragement we would just share is, I know so many of us want to be on YouTube, not just to create videos, right? Many of us are thinking about speaking. Many of us have a book down the line or are writing a book. Many of us want to enter thought leadership, and I think YouTube is a fantastic way. And by joining Haven, you get to actually do this with other colleagues who get it, so that you're not alone. This is one of the biggest things that I've learned is many of us have dreams to do stuff like this, but just being surrounded by other people who are also doing it, it pushes us and motivates us to actually get it done. So with that, Melanie, I'll turn it over to you. We wanted to leave, 10, 15 minutes just for questions for you guys. Melanie, was there any questions that came up? I know we had some questions that came up before as well. So,
We Yeah, so we do have two new questions and a comment from Susan. She said this approach is making videos to making videos is so refreshing. So thank you for sharing that, Susan. And then we had two questions. One is from Dion. He said, how important is the background as you present?
Mm. Yeah. So, Dion, I think the background, what I would do is in terms of what to emphasize on as you're creating videos. So, first, great sound, right? Then I would do focus on lighting, and then I would focus on a camera. Now, so the background itself, right? So you're looking at this. This is a bookshelf. I've got a DSLR, all of these things. It did not look like this for the first like 7, 8 years. I literally had a webcam, and that is what I alluded to. Now, the question I think you're asking is how important, what does the background communicate? Right. And I think that's probably the bigger question to ask. So as you're creating videos, what I did is I was very purposeful. This is my home office, but this wall is where I record videos, and everything that we've kind of intentionally put in the background is thoughtful and strategic. So, for example, we've got some of my most favorite books. We've got my podcasting mic. My what am I like forgetting the headphones and all of those kind of things. So everything I've kind of done, and what I really wanted to do is create kind of a fireside chat kind of vibe. And so I would say it is important, but it's not something to obsess over, right? Like we try to follow this philosophy, which is get going, then get good, then get good, then get smart. Get going, then get good, then get smart. So don't let needing to get a perfect background stop you from getting going.
Absolutely. And then also Elizabeth asked earlier, she said, she said, I get multiple offers every week to improve my SEO. Do you have suggestions for ways to improve SEO so that people can find my content? And obviously, we went over this a little bit,
Yeah.
but do you have any kind of just quick thoughts for her on
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. So, I mean, keyword stuff is like keyword research is not going away. It's just getting tweaked with AI. And so this is something we're actually going to work on in that one of those weeks in the accelerator. So what I would think about is think on two levels. So idea capture, Elizabeth, based on like you're like, hey, these are themes that I'm seeing, right? But then actually use some sort of a keyword research tool. We use vidIQ, which is it's certified by YouTube, so it's a YouTube keyword research tool. So I then use those, like for example, with selling the couch, right? Because selling the couch is serving our field, uh, most of the content is for therapists. But if I look on vidIQ, what are the best podcasting mics for therapists? It's not going to get pulled up because there isn't enough search volume for that, right? But what I might look at is podcasting mics, and I'm trying to look at like search volume there and then trying to create the content around that. Um, the other thing I would just share is I talked to an SEO friend, and she had this beautiful image. She said, Mel, SEO used to be focused just on the website and basically what kind of keywords and stuff you could use on your website. With AI, what you really want to think about is not just the website, but how do you take up as much digital real estate as possible in a thoughtful and strategic way. So, we shared that slide before of these LLMs are pulling from YouTube, right? They're pulling from your website. They're pulling from your Facebook content. They're pulling from Instagram. They're pulling from LinkedIn. And so you really want to think about it more on a holistic level versus just a website focused level. Websites are still important, but on a larger holistic level.
Okay, then we got one more question that just came in from Fletcher. How do you think about recorded conversations, interviews for YouTube content, assuming they hit the points that put them in the flywheel section of your matrix?
Yeah, Fletcher, I think this is a really, I think live streams are very powerful. They help build trust with the person who's your guest, they also help us to show our credibility and trust, right? So because of the live nature, right, there's opportunities to ask questions, all of those kind of things. Now, where does it go in terms of like the bigger SEO play? This is something we're thinking a lot long and hard about. My sense is uh, individual blog posts, what we're personally doing is we're emphasizing less individual blog posts, but we're leaning more into long form guides. So, Fletcher, one thing I might do is let's say you create a live stream, or you have, let's say you do a solo live stream on an area that you have expertise in, right? What I might really think about is how does that live stream supplement a guide that I might want to make related to that. Where I would actually start is at the guide level. What are the guides that I might want to create that that show my expertise and authority in the spaces that I want, and then how can the live streams that I create on YouTube supplement that? So, and then when you're even within the guide, right, embedding the actual video for the live stream. That's probably the way that I would approach it. So,
I'm just thinking about this as
yeah.
well. Do you, just because we obviously post with the interviews question, I think that since we obviously post interviews as well for selling the couch, how do you think that that kind of plays into this whole
Yeah.
like SEO with AI arena? And like, I mean, they're
Yeah.
sharing it obviously on social, so that's obviously good. If you have people, coming to, they are looking up that person and they find your content, but how else do you think that that can help?
Yeah, so I think, to be honest, like this, I think is an area we're still trying to figure out because all of this AI stuff is changing so fast. So definitely a signal, right? Backlinks are a signal that Google uses to show the expertise of a website, right? So you have a guest that it comes on your podcast. Maybe they write a blog post about the interview that they went on, right? They backlink to your website, right? That helps to establish that, gives you an additional backlink. Now, the piece of where does it make sense to do individual blog posts? Let's say you've got a solo episode and it's a YouTube video. Does it make sense to do individual blog posts? My gut feel is maybe not anymore, because I think the other piece of this is, especially as you start creating these YouTube videos, like for us, right? We have 407 podcast episodes, 407 blog posts on a website. I worry that it's going to create so much bloat on a website that it's actually going to lower the speed of the website, right? Which is also a ranking factor. So that's, I don't know if I'm answering it fully well, but like Melanie, feel free to jump in too. But like, I think this is what I'm thinking a lot about, of if these LLMs maybe do not need the blog post in order to find that content, right? Maybe they're finding it already on YouTube.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, and we've talked about this behind the scenes a little bit, but I think that, and we mentioned it earlier, it's more about the quality of what you're putting out than just putting out so much content. Um, so like saying the same message, like thinking about what you want to be known for and just making sure that you have those things online, I think is more important than having a blog post for every single thing.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Melanie, I think there were a couple of those questions that we had gotten before, right? I think.
Yeah, we did. We got three questions before. So these are a little bit longer, so bear with
Yeah.
me. The first one is, as a licensed therapist still practicing therapy, should a YouTube channel have the same name, contact info, and all that as a therapy business in order to create continuity across platforms and signal AI that my YouTube authority is directly related to my counseling website? Or can it have a more generic name in case I ease out of counseling later?
Yeah, so I think my sense is, and this is what we've done for selling the couch, is I built it on my name and not on selling the couch, right? So the channel is at Melvin Berges PhD, right? So I feel like doing something like that, even if you do shift out of counseling or something like that down the line, you've at least built a bunch of content, and I think it's easier to make that shift versus then having to start like a whole new channel. I think I don't know the I mean, obviously, so a couple of things. Your name, right, travels across pivots. The therapy practice name may not. Um, the other thing, I did some research on these questions because I was like, man, like, and one of the things that I found is like AI systems. So, like, you know, Perplexity, ChatGPT, all of these systems, they're essentially building what they call entity graphs around people, not business names. So when your YouTube channel, therapy website, Psychology Today profile, and podcast all resolve to the same name person, that's a strong authority signal. So that's kind of that eat stuff that we were talking about. So
Right. Um, okay, so the next question is, what's your opinion on this? I want to create some content for clients with education that I tend to provide every couple. My way of getting across things like attachment and nervous system development in kids and how things like shame get baked into us and showing up later in marriages, things I seem to teach every couple. I've been thinking about doing those as unlisted videos so I can send the links out to my clients as special content that follows their process from pre intensive through post intensive. But I wonder if I should just make it all public and send a couple of my links as needed, making the content less exclusive but better for AI search while building the channel.
yeah, so what we've generally found is right, like you should make them public, right? Like full stop is what I would say because unlisted videos, they don't generate SEO or any sort of AI authority, right? They're essentially invisible. And so I would say that's probably, and also think about it, right? Like the questions that you're asking around nervous system development in kids, those are things that people are searching for at like 11 p.m., right? Um, Patterns that surface in marriages, couples may be searching for that when they're fighting and they don't know why, right? Or they're getting into some sort of a pattern. So, um, now, obviously, the one exception is if there's any sort of video that could, and I would not even post this as unlisted, but if there's like a specific client kind of situation there where there's like client information, I would just avoid that as well. Um, and then I think I have the third question in front of me, so I can just hop down that. So I think that question is, if I have content on a YouTube channel, does the internet dislike duplicate content? Should I not also host those videos? Should I just link to the YouTube channel for my site? Yeah, I would just embed it on your site from YouTube because that's a strong signal, right? So, what I found is Google's duplicate content concerns are about copied text across pages and domains, not video embeds. I know it's a little bit technical, but that's the way I would think about it. So if there's places that you can sort of strategically embed or share YouTube videos, it's for me it's like fine. So right, well, again, Melanie, is there any other comments, questions? Otherwise,
We don't have any other new questions.
okay. Perfect. So, just in terms of logistical stuff, guys, we'll send you guys a replay link tonight. We'll also send you a link to Haven. And there's also a link if you're like, hey, Mel, I'm really interested in Haven, but can we just schedule like a 15-minute chat just to make sure you're a real person and this makes sense? We'll send you a link there as well. Melanie, again, we'll put a link to Haven. There's a QR code as well. If you have any questions on about Haven, you're like, Mel, like, is this good? Like, you know, uh, email me, melvin@sellingthecouch.com. I'm happy to give you an honest answer. I'm really excited for this accelerator. We had almost 91 folks sign up for this. And so I know a lot of us are thinking about it. And I think this accelerator particularly would help us or help you like really think through how to create in a sustainable way, but also in kind of a world of AI. So All right. Melanie, any final things? Otherwise, we can wrap up.
Just thank you for spending this time with us, and we're excited. We hope that you got some value out of this, and we will get you an email with all the things here soon.
All right. Have a great rest of your day, y'all. Bye.